Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a deep plunge into a book that, for many people, it's not just a read, it's kind of a revelation. Steven Pressfield's The War of Art. If you've ever felt that, that magnetic pull of a big dream, but then you just find yourself inexplicably stuck, procrastinating, or maybe just feeling unwilling to do the work that you know really matters, well, this book speaks directly to that. Pressfield's core promise really is that it's your field guide. It helps you defeat those relentless internal forces keeping you from your most meaningful creative work. Now, it clocks in at what, about 165 pages, so you can read it pretty quickly, maybe in an afternoon, but don't let that fool you. It's short, yeah, but it's not just a quick read. It's foundational, a real gut punch, honestly, that stays with you. So our mission today is to really unpack Pressfield's insights, dissect his unique, almost, well, spiritual take on creative blocks, and explore how you can apply his sort of battle cry to your own life, whether you're a writer, an entrepreneur, or just someone with a big dream who's struggling to get started.
Yeah, it's definitely a modern classic. Came out in 2002, and it just cemented itself, didn't it? In areas like creativity, self-mastery, productivity, it consistently gets fantastic ratings, like 4.8 out of 5 stars. And what's so compelling, I think, is that while he talks to artists and creators, the principles are just so universal. They hit home for anyone trying to grow or achieve something meaningful, anyone wrestling with bringing something new into the world.
Okay, so let's dive into that central idea then. The enemy we're supposed to be fighting. Pressfield says it isn't just laziness, right? Or lack of talent, or even bad luck. It's this invisible, almost like sentient force he calls resistance, always with a capital R.
Right, and he doesn't just define it, he almost gives it a personality. It's this insidious, unseen thing, that little voice whispering at you to procrastinate, distracting you with, I don't know, scrolling endlessly online, or just pumping up your self-doubt until you're paralyzed. It's that feeling that tells you you're not ready. It stops you from writing that first sentence, building that prototype, launching the idea, or even just, starting a new health routine. He really doesn't mince words. He says, resistance will tell you anything to keep you from doing your work. It will perjure, fabricate. It will seduce you. Resistance is always lying and always full of shit. Pretty blunt.
Brutal, yeah, but incredibly accurate, isn't it? I think most of us, well, we've felt that creeping paralysis, staring at a blank page, avoiding a call, finding a million other urgent things to do right when you know you should be doing that important thing, that feeling of being stuck or suddenly needing to reorganize your entire desk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's resistance.
Exactly. And that brings us to something really crucial and maybe a bit uncomfortable. Resistance is universal,
Yeah.
but it's also deeply internal. It's not some barrier out there. It's inside us.
Yeah.
And everyone deals with it. Doesn't matter if you're a famous novelist or a student with a thesis. It pops up whenever you try to grow, innovate, create something that, well, that matters. He says it'll bury you under a mountain of excuses. And maybe the most piercing insight is this. The more important something is to your soul, the stronger, the more relentless that resistance will feel.
So maybe for you listening right now, just take a second. Where in your life are you making the most excuses? Feeling the most hesitation? Procrastinating the hardest? Pressfield would probably say, well, that's where your resistance is strongest. And it's strong there because that's where your most significant work, maybe your deepest calling, is actually waiting. Okay, so if resistance is this formidable enemy, what's Pressfield's solution? What's the strategy? It's this really transformative idea he calls turning pro.
Right, and this is where the book really shifts gears. It moves from diagnosis to giving you a mindset for the fight. He draws this really stark line between amateurs and professionals. And it's not about money or even raw talent. It's all mindset and behavior. Amateurs, he says, they wait. They wait for motivation, for inspiration, for the stars to align, Professionals, they just show up consistently. It doesn't matter how they feel. And amateurs, they take criticism really personally, like it's an attack on them. Professionals, they learn to separate the work from their identity. Criticism is about the work, not their worth. So turning pro, it means approaching your calling, whatever it is, with discipline, real discipline, not just waiting for inspiration. It means showing up every single day, rain or shine, fear or boredom, self-doubt. You just show up because the work demands it. His line is great. The amateur plays for fun. The professional plays for keeps.
That distinction really does change the game, doesn't it? It means that for you, adopting that professional mindset, it isn't necessarily about quitting your job to become a full-time artist or whatever. It's about treating your calling, your important work, with the seriousness and the relentless discipline it deserves. And this leads into another really impactful part of his philosophy, which is almost spiritual. His view of creative work as, well, sacred. He sees it as more than just a personal thing. It's bigger.
Yeah, he frames doing your work writing, building, speaking, designing, whatever it is, as like honoring a gift you've been given,
Yeah.
a unique gift. It's not just something you owe yourself, like fulfilling an ambition. He argues you owe it to the universe, kind of, to everyone. He puts it really powerfully. If you were born with the ability to write, paint, build, or lead, and you don't do it, you're stealing from the world.
Wow. That's a heavy reframe for procrastination, isn't it? It shifts it from just being a personal failure to being like a missed opportunity on a bigger scale. You're withholding something. It's not just about what you're losing by not doing it, but what the world might be missing out on. Okay, let's tackle that common myth, the one that really paralyzes so many of us. The idea that you have to wait for inspiration before you can even start.
Oh, Pressfield just demolishes that.
Oh.
Absolutely. His view is crystal clear. Inspiration is for amateurs. Professionals get to work. End of story. He basically says waiting to feel ready or motivated or inspired. That's just resistance in disguise. It's cleverest trick, maybe.
Yeah.
The profound truth he offers is that action comes first. Action is the catalyst. You don't wait for inspiration. You work, and inspiration often shows up because you showed up. It follows the action.
So really, the most important step, the absolute foundation, is just showing up, even when you really don't want to. Especially then, maybe. That's the first punch you throw back at resistance. Just getting started. And another key distinction Pressfield makes is about what true artistry is really about. He separates it from just chasing external validation.
Right. The true artist, in his view, isn't doing it for the applause, the likes, the comments, the sales numbers, all that external stuff. Their drive comes from the process itself, the act of expression, the calling that won't leave them alone. They focus intensely on what they can control. Their output, their effort, their discipline, showing up. And they understand deeply that they don't control how the world reacts. And there's freedom in that, in letting go of that need for validation.
Yeah. That perspective can be incredibly freeing for you, can't it? Whether you're building a business, writing music, whatever. It lifts that crushing pressure of needing external success. It lets you focus on the inherent value of the work itself, the joy of the process, just the act of creating. So we've talked a lot about the power of this book. Let's maybe look at both sides, its strengths, and maybe where it has limitations. Strength-wise, it's definitely short, punchy, almost poetic, like we said. That gut punch feeling is real. It sticks with you. It tells an unflinching truth, right? Calls out excuses so clearly, but somehow still feels, compassionate. And its universality, that's huge. It applies to basically any creator or director. Plus, it manages to feel spiritually grounded without being overtly religious, which helps it connect widely.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be balanced, it's good to be clear what the book isn't. It's a manifesto, a real call to arms. But it's not a step-by-step manual. If you're looking for specific daily habits, framework schedules, do this at 8 a.m., you won't find that explicitly here. And some people might find the language a bit abstract, talk of muses, angels. That might feel a little too metaphysical for some, maybe hard to connect with directly.
Those are fair points. But even with those caveats, that core message about seeing resistance, battling it, committing to your calling, it just resonates so deeply with so many people. So who is this book really for? We've touched on it, but let's be clear. Definitely writers, creators, entrepreneurs, artists, but also really anyone fighting chronic procrastination or feeling creatively blocked. If you have a dream, any kind of dream, but you feel stuck in fear or doubt or just endless overthinking, this book is like a wake-up call.
Yeah, concisely put, it's definitely best for creatives, founders, dreamers, and procrastinators. And the best time to read it, probably exactly when you're stuck, scared, or utterly uninspired. That's when it hits hardest.
Well, there you have it. The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. It really is more than just a book. It feels like a creative battle cry. It doesn't exactly teach you how to start step by step, but it absolutely reminds you why you have to, why it's essential. It's brutally honest, it's spiritually rich in its own way, and it's endlessly rereadable. If you're serious about doing work that matters to you, whatever that is, this feels like a non-negotiable read, something you keep nearby and revisit. And if this deep dive into Pressfield's world sparked something in you and you're looking for maybe related reads, we'd recommend checking out Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic explores similar themes of creative living. Or Pressfield's own follow-up, Do the Work, is a direct continuation. For a different angle on mental toughness, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins is incredibly raw and motivating about pushing limits. And Seth Godin's The Practice is a great companion piece too, really focusing on the importance of that daily creative practice.
And maybe this leaves you with a question to ponder. If Pressfield's right, if resistance really is strongest when you're closest to your true calling, what part of your life right now is generating the most fear, the the most self-doubt. Perhaps that very discomfort isn't something to run from. Perhaps it's actually a signpost, pointing directly to where your most important work lies, just waiting for you to show up.